I'm Dustin. Welcome to Fantasy Smack Talk. This is your Week 6 waiver wire. More big injuries this week, so like always, plenty to talk about. Before we get into it, I shoot this before the Monday night game, so just keep that in mind. And thank you to our sponsor, mybookie.ag. If you're not liking your fantasy teams, maybe you get on there, get some action on the Sundays for the sports book, most trusted sports book on the web. You play, you win, you get paid is their motto. Use promo code SMACK when you sign up. You get up to 100% sign-up bonus. So check that out. Get on there. So I start with the pickup of the week. And just so you know, too, when we get to the list of players, I have them listed kind of in order of how I would pick them up. And my pickup of the week is kind of the most exciting pickup. Not necessarily the guy that I would pick up if all of these guys were available in my league. But I'm talking about Aaron Jones this week. It's a little scary for Montgomery owners because he just seems like he keeps getting nicked up like every game he plays just because they keep him out there so much. And Jones just seems to be someone you need to worry about. So all Montgomery owners need to try to get Jones on their team. I don't think Montgomery's just going to go away. I think it might just turn into somewhat of a timeshare, which wasn't really what was happening before Montgomery got hurt. But you might get one more start out of Jones if Montgomery stays out. But it is a little scary just how good Jones has looked. You know, Montgomery, converted wide receiver, there's a chance he goes down to more of a third down role. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but either way, Montgomery owners need to try to get Jones on their team. Let's take a look at some running backs. Kamara is a guy that I got a little bit of flack for not having on this list last week. And to be honest with you, I only have people on this list that are owned in less than 70% of leagues. I didn't even think to look at his ownership after week 3 because I thought for sure people would have picked him up. I don't know what people are afraid of. I know he had his bye, week 5, and he's still only owned in 70% of leagues, so I get, maybe not having room, not picking him up, but I don't understand what the community's afraid of here. Sean Payton's not a coach that's afraid to start people that thinks he's going to give them the best chance. He's not just going to play people just because of their names, so I don't think Peterson's role changes much. Kamara needs to be owned in all leagues at this point. He is a high upside flex play at the very least for the rest of the season, I feel. So I'm just shocked that his ownership is still only 70%. There is huge upside there. Pick up Kamara. Gallman's next for the Giants. He's looked good enough to where I think he's going to get the bulk of the carries each week. I know Darkwa found the end zone. He's still going to be in the mix, but I just think Gallman is the guy they need to move towards. He's decent average per carry he's had. So I think Gallman needs to be owned in more leagues, only owned 40%. And then Marlon Mack, got to talk about him. It's starting to look like there might be a changing of the guard. I mean, Gore's not going to go away. I think he's still going to be the guy. As long as Gore's there, Mack's going to have a hard time getting a ton of carries. But he's definitely more explosive. He's definitely more exciting. Same deal with Gore owners. If Mack's out there, you need to pick him up. Just pick up Mack. Just have him on your bench at the very least. Moving on, Matt Breida for San Francisco. It's a little scary for Hyde owners because it looked like Hyde was getting rested at the end of the game because of an injury, but now they're coming out and saying that wasn't the case. So that's definitely scary, and I just think you need to pick this guy up if you own Hyde just in case something happens, but there is upside there. And it does seem like they want to get the ball in the rookie's hands. So you got to pick him up in more leagues, only on in 10% of leagues. Then I want to talk about Thomas Rawls. We didn't get much clarity on this situation week 5, but I did like that Rawls was in the game at the end of the game. He was a little bit more involved in the passing game, but it still just looks like it's going to be an absolute mess out there with the Seattle running back situation. But if I had to pick one at this point, I think I'm leaning more towards Rawls than Lacy. Moving on, Shane Vereen, owned in 15% of leagues. Giants fans, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. It is ugly out there. And I think Vereen might be one of the players who gets the biggest bump with all the receivers getting hurt because they might just have to get more creative out of the backfield, throw more screens and that type of stuff. So I think Vereen, especially in PPR leagues, could have some value until some of their receivers come back. And then Elijah McGuire, only owned in 20% of leagues. He got his chance week 5 when Powell went out with injury. He didn't necessarily take advantage of it, but it's still a situation to monitor. It's still a situation, if Powell ends up missing, week 6, we'll see. But I think McGuire, he's still an exciting young player. I think there's still some upside there. Even though he was getting bottled up a little bit in the second half, I still think he's someone to consider. One last running back for you, and that's Dion Lewis with New England. He's been pretty consistently involved the last couple of weeks. And I know, Burkhead's been out. It's still kind of a mess if all of them are healthy out there, but they like Dion Lewis, and they should. I mean, he's definitely their shiftiest runner, I feel. So I don't think James White's role is going to change much. I don't think Gillislee's role is going to change much. But, if Lewis ends up taking over kind of the Burkhead role, he could be a guy that has some, flex appeal going through the bye weeks. But I do think Dion Lewis is at least interesting. Before we get into the receivers, shout out to BM Cooper 21 for winning our FanDuel Beat the Experts Week 5 challenge. FST Mike got close but didn't quite pull it out. They're going to get a sweet t-shirt. They also won the prize money for that league. And if you're not in the FanDuel, don't forget you get a free entry into the Sunday Million. If you're a new sign-up and you deposit $10 or more, it's a $7 entry into the Sunday Million. And you also get a free subscription to Playboy's online magazine. So plenty of incentive to sign up. So click on the link in the description, sign up, deposit $10 or more. It helps us out as well. Let's take a look at receivers. That's where it seems like every week there's a different Cardinal receiver that's breaking out. But I still just feel like Jaron Brown is the one that I think will be the most consistent of the receivers behind Larry Fitzgerald. Only owning 50% of leagues. I know they just keep taking turns with Nelson and John Brown, and so it's kind of a mess. But Jaron Brown is the one that I think will end up being the second best receiver for the Cardinals. So he's only owning 50% of leagues. Mike Wallace only owning 35% of leagues. Had a big week 5. Starting to seem like the Ravens might be able to get at least that deep ball going. So we'll see. I think Flacco's might be feeling a little bit better, but that Ravens offense has still looked pretty bad. Let's talk about the Giants situation real quick. I touched on it a little bit with Vereen. It's a mess. If you're going to pick up a receiver, I don't mind Travis Rudolph, only on 5% of leagues. Had a decent preseason. He's kind of a deep threat guy. He'll be kind of a hit or miss, desperation flex play. But if you're going to pick up anyone, he's the one that I kind of like. And then a couple more. Ricardo Lewis with Cleveland. He's okay, someone to consider. I mean, he's only on 5% of leagues. I know it's Cleveland, but they made the quarterback switch. They're going with Hogan now, and I think that could help the receivers out there. So I don't mind Lewis, only on 5% of leagues. If you're desperate for a receiver, I think Hogan could help the receivers out there get back on the fantasy map. So I don't mind him. A couple of quarterbacks for you. Carson Palmer, I know it's been a little bit rough, but I don't mind his matchup week 6 with Tampa Bay. I think he could have a decent game. He is still putting up okay numbers. It's just not looking that pretty. And then Brian Hoyer, he's starting to get things going. That offense in general, I'm starting to get a little bit more confidence with. So just moving forward, if you're desperate for a quarterback, I think it's time to at least start paying attention to Hoyer. He's at least serviceable, and obviously in any type of 2 quarterback leagues, he should be considered. Some tight ends for you. Evan Ingram. I know he went catchless week 5, but you got to think with all those hurt receivers, he's got to get a bump. He's owning 70% of leagues right now, but I think, he might even get dropped because he went catchless, but I think he's going to have to get more targets with all the injuries. And then David Njoku for Cleveland. He's, another guy that I think could benefit from the quarterback switch, and he had an amazing touchdown grab. He's a big guy, and he's made this nice one-handed grab. Check it out if you haven't seen it. And then Ed Dixon still benefiting from the injury out there with Olsen. Had a big game. Not totally buying it, but it could happen again. He does have a decent upside from week to week. Couple pick up and play defenses for you. First one's Atlanta. They're going up against Miami. Miami just hasn't looked that good. Atlanta's only 25% owned. Over-under on mybookie.ag is 47.5, and Atlanta's a 10.5 point favorite, so they're not giving Miami much love in this one. And my other pick up and play defense is New England, owning about 55% of leagues. I know New England's defense has been awful, which is surprising that they're still owning 55% of leagues, but they're going up against the Jets. Over-under is 47, And the Patriots are favored by 9.5, so they're not giving the Jets much love in that either. So that's Week 6 waiver wire. If you've got questions, post them in the comments of this video. We're trying to answer as many as we can. Give us a thumbs up as well. Subscribe to our channel if you're not already. Get on to mybookie.ag and check out FanDuel. Good luck on the wire.